The transfer portal has absolutely gone ballistic right now, and you had some major action yesterday with Washington State quarterback John Mateer reporting that he's entering into the transfer portal. Now, we said on this show yesterday, hey, Oklahoma's the one to watch. Hey, with the expectation for us is that he's going to enter with a do not contact tag. I had seen other reports that had said the same thing. John Mateer did not enter with a do not contact tag. He did enter the portal, but there's an intel piece right now on all3.com by Pete Nakos talking about Miami, trying to get in the mix a little bit for John Mateer, trying to swing a big bat when it comes to the NIL side of things. And honestly, if we know Miami, like, they're going to be in that thing till the end. That portal combat is a sport that Mario Cristobal and that staff is very comfortable playing. So for Miami, man, you bring him in, I think, to finish what Cam Ward started. And like Cam Ward had the best season in Miami Hurricane history at the quarterback position, won 10 football games, and still missed the college football playoff. So if I'm John Mateer, let's just say he has a year in Coral Gables. If he goes to Miami, that's just a step below what Cam Ward did this year. Let's just hypothetically say that's the case. What does Miami accomplish? The question I'm asking if I'm John Mateer is what's around me here in Coral Gables to allow me to be successful. Because I have to believe for John Mateer, going somewhere that's not Washington State is probably a move to help his NFL draft stock. I don't think that's rocket science. You know, yeah, really help your NFL draft stock, though? Go play in a college football playoff game. I mean, the exposure from that is absolutely massive. Not to say you can have a great draft grade if you were to have a year and a half at Miami and ball the heck out, but like I think that's something to monitor is the way they build around him and what that would look like if John Mateer does go there, what else he attracts. Now, Oklahoma, we mentioned yesterday, I'll say it again, they're the school to watch for me. I mean, there's so much there that makes sense. Ben Arbuckle, his offensive coordinator, now the OC in Norman, previously at Washington State. John Kuzieski, his quarterback's coach at Washington State, now on the offensive staff for Oklahoma. So if it's about being comfortable and being somewhere you're familiar and knowing the system you're walking into, Oklahoma makes a ton of sense. But again, for Miami to be in the race here, and for Cam Ward also being a former teammate of his, having that discussion, the Shannon Dawson offense, there's a lot to like about Miami. So I'll say I thought this was going to be sort of cut and dry. Again, I fully expected the no contact tag, as was reported for John Mateer from other folks. But this looks like there may be a little more to this recruitment. So we'll keep an eye on that. But John Mateer, I'll round it out with this thought around John Mateer. He, to me, is the guy that you look at in the transfer portal and say, he's the reason we make the college football playoff. Whether it's Oklahoma or Miami, like you view your postseason win total. I have to imagine Vegas probably sees your postseason win total differently with him at quarterback for you. He's that good. He's that special. He's the piece of the puzzle here in the transfer portal that truly moves me if I'm talking about this transfer portal quarterback crop. So we'll keep an eye on that one. And obviously have more thoughts for you around John Mateer's recruitment as that thing develops and progresses. Jackson Arnold, formerly at Oklahoma, sending the caller out there. Over the weekend, he commits to Auburn. And this was one that I don't know that we didn't see coming because I personally thought Mississippi State was going to be the spot for him just because of Jeff Lebby being out there, his former OC, and now being the head coach at Mississippi State. But Jackson Arnold going to the Plains. I like the fit from a schematic perspective. One of the things we loved about Jackson Arnold out of high school for our staff here at On3 was the quick release that he brought to the table. And the RPO, man, it's about like making quick decisions, get the ball out of your hands fast. I wouldn't sell my stock on him based on what happened last year at Oklahoma. We've said this many times, but I'll say it one more time. Last year at Oklahoma, the circumstances around Jackson Arnold, I think, are hard for anybody to win with. Like brand new offensive line in the SEC, your receiving core is supposed to be your fastball. It's dinged up every single week. I was more impressed by Jackson Arnold with how he responded to adversity because he's 5-star plus, supposed to be the guy. And then he ends up getting to, the spot that it was for him against Tennessee, and he gets benched. Prime time, Herbie and Fowler on the call, he gets benched. What would that do to anybody's psyche? Have to imagine, at best, it bruises it. At worst, it crushes it. Jackson Arnold then later on in the year is called upon to go in and help Oklahoma win football games, and he did just that. Beat Alabama. I don't think the folks in Auburn, Alabama are forgetting that fact as well. So I was impressed by the way he responded. I think there's a lot to this kid to where he was built as a 5-star product out of high school for a reason. I'm very curious to see how he translates in this Auburn system under Hugh Freeze. Also worth noting, Auburn taking not one but 2 portal quarterbacks, and Ashton Daniels from Stanford. So I don't know what that situation will look like when it comes to how they divvy up reps in the spring, but I have to imagine Jackson Arnold is brought in to be QB1. But having 2 portal quarterbacks, if I'm Hugh Freeze, not a bad insurance plan. Not a bad way to go about business. And then, oh, by the way, you got Deuce Knight entering as a true freshman. So vibes should be pretty good in Auburn, Alabama. And should be a good quarterback room, which will be fun to watch. Michael Van Buren, speaking of quarterback rooms, he's going from Mississippi State's quarterback room to LSU's quarterback room. And, man, this dude can ball. Okay, last year as a true freshman, Mississippi State had some games that kind of opened your eyes a little bit. The Georgia game for me was that game that opened my eyes. Went for over 300 yards against the Dogs. The fact that he's going to LSU with Garrett Nussmeier coming back, I think is fascinating on a number of levels. One, if you're LSU, you now have the heir apparent to the Garrett Nussmeier experience after he leaves after next year. And if you're Michael Van Buren, you're cool with that. Like, you're not transferring to LSU with the assumption that you're going to be the guy next year in Baton Rouge. Like, to me, what I tweeted out whenever this happened was this gives me Dante Moore vibes when he transferred from UCLA to Oregon. Like, hey, I understand it's not my time yet. I want to develop. I want to progress. I want to be under a good offensive coordinator in Joe Sloan at LSU. Like, great, I'll take my time. When it's my time, I'll be more ready because of what I learned from this year as a true freshman and what I'll learn next year under the tutelage of a veteran quarterback like a Garrett Nussmeier. So I think that this guy, man, like, I'm very excited to see what he does when he gets on the field in Baton Rouge because I think his ability is through the roof, and we saw flashes of it this year. Now, joining him at LSU is Barion Brown, who I've been pounding the drum for here, man. I think he's one of the best offensive weapons in the transfer portal, a wide receiver previously at Kentucky. A couple things I like about him. I just like that you can get him the football in any which way, and he's a home run threat every single time he touches it. Whether it's the bubble game, whether it's the kickoff return game, like, just get Barion Brown the football and let him do the rest. The tough part with him at Kentucky was they didn't have a quarterback consistently enough to get him the football at a high level. But Barion Brown, man, also, like, we've seen the track record of success for LSU wide receivers. Kyron Lacey, gone to the league. A lot of production to be had in that offense under Garrett Nussmeier. And I think Barion Brown, go ahead and pencil him in for a massive pop year next year in Baton Rouge. Micah Hudson is a former 5-star plus wide receiver that was at Texas Tech. He's transferring to Texas A&M. Now, the angle with this, I think, is intriguing because A&M, like, they're always going to be a physical operation. As long as Colin Klein is calling the plays and Mike Elko's your head coach, you're going to have a little bit of a physical edge to you, all right, in the trenches. You look at how A&M operated last year offensively. They ran the football 60% of the time. That's great. But whenever you have a run-to-pass ratio that is so heavily run, you would expect that yards per pass number to be relatively high. Like, you see a lot of these teams, I'm trying to think a good example would be, like, Michigan was a great example of this previously. Like, under J.J. McCarthy, they were, I think, a top 10 team in America when it came to yards per pass. But they were 55 to 60% run. So whenever you're able to dictate terms up front, defenses overcompensate. We got shot plays downfield. I say all that to get to this point, man. A&M, they were not great when it comes to yards per pass. They were number 42 in America at 7.6 yards a pass. So now you add into the fold a Micah Hudson, who I think is a legitimate explosive receiver. I think this could be a situation where the A&M offense, another year under Marcel Reed, another year in the Colin Klein system with more weapons outside to give them some help, that could make the A&M offense a bit of a force to be dealt with. Now, one more I want to get to here. Speaking of 5-stars, former 5-star from Alabama, defensive back Jalen Mbakwe. There was a report that he was announcing his intentions to enter the transfer portal. Now, as of right now, of us being on the air at 10:51 a.m. Central Time, he had not yet entered. So we'll see if he does, in fact, enter. But the conversation around Mbakwe is, I think, a little bit more macro. Like, this is one of several Alabama announcements to enter the transfer portal. I think a lot of folks in Tuscaloosa are like, man, the sky is falling. We got great players leaving the roster. What's going on with Kalen DeBoer? Also, we had a lackluster year. Y'all, lackluster in Tuscaloosa with 9 wins, like, okay, that's first world problems. Like, it's never great whenever the stains on your Lambo are from your McDonald's or from your meal you had in the drive-thru. But, like, again, it's a Lambo. Like, 3 losses, we're going to be okay in Tuscaloosa. Yeah, you had the greatest coach of all time retire. So, of course, there's some kickback there. Jalen Mbakwe, he committed to play with Nick Saban, or play for Nick Saban, rather. Of course, there's going to be some repercussions here with the changing of the guard. I would be very slow to sell my Bama stock. Like, I don't think Alabama is cooked because of the portal activity the last couple of days. Keep an eye on that one. But, again, I wanted to say my piece there on Bama. I'd pump the brakes on the burying of Bama when it comes to what they're going to be under Kalen DeBoer. All right, 9 wins, and they still almost backdoored their way into the college football playoff. Worth noting, just worth noting. All right, so we'll keep you updated on the portal. Make sure you're locked in here for all things portal coverage. You can go read that intel piece on on3.com from Pete Nakos, the entire team crushing the coverage, and make sure you're following as well on these social platforms, the On3 Transfer Portal account, the On3 Main account. We'll keep you dialed in for all things portal, so we appreciate y'all in advance for that.